Hey Vanner family. It's hot. It's like 10 o'clock and it's like 87 degrees already. So I'm just chilling. I've got my big fan going. I've got plenty of water. I just want to talk a little bit about heat in the van or summertime in the van for me. I don't have an issue with being hot in the van. I don't mind the heat. I can tolerate heat way better than I can tolerate cold. I do not like being cold. My body doesn't like cold. My joints don't like cold. And speaking of joints, I know I mentioned that in many videos, but we have a lot of new Fanner family members. And so I want to just touch base a little bit about my joint condition. So I have a joint condition called hypermobile joint syndrome or hypermobile joint disease. I've heard it both ways from different doctors and online as well. So what it is, it's basically that double jointedness that people call double jointed, is where your joints move past where they're supposed to move normally. And it can vary from person to person and joint to joint. Like some of my joints only have a couple of degrees difference, whereas some of my other joints have more. So it just depends. I spent a lot of my youth on crutches because of my knees and my ankles, not knowing that all my life I've had this condition and just did not know it, was never diagnosed. It's not something, especially back then in the 80s when I was spending most of my middle school and high school years on crutches. So no one diagnosed me with it. I wasn't diagnosed until I was a full adult when my then doctor thought I had fibromyalgia, and nothing was helping as far as all the things that she was giving me for fibromyalgia. None of that was helping me with my pain and my swelling in joints and stuff. So she had me see a rheumatologist. It just so happened this rheumatologist was a very knowledgeable rheumatologist and did some in-person testing. There's really not a blood test for the hypermobile part of it. There is testing for the more extreme version of it. I believe it's called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and I'll put the word on the screen so you can look it up at your convenience. I believe that's how it's pronounced. I'm not sure, but that's the way more extreme version of what I have. So I have what's considered the more mild or version, which to me is not mild because I'm in pain every day. But I can't imagine having the more extreme version of this. But anyway, that being said, having had this condition my whole life and not knowing what I needed to know to maintain these joints, to not injure my joints, I've had a lot of knee and ankle injuries my entire life. And so those tend to be my worst pain joints. And I've now developed arthritis in several of my joints because of it. I did have a left knee surgery because I had a torn meniscus, a really bad tear that required surgery that could not repair it. They just had to clean out the torn parts of the meniscus. So that knee really has issues, and it has arthritis really bad because there's really not a lot of stuff in there to protect. So that one swells a lot. That one locks up a lot. I have a lot of pain in the left one. About not quite a year later, I did a mild tear of the meniscus in the right knee, which did not require surgery, although they probably would have had liked me to have had surgery, but I just opted not to have surgery on that one. So I do have some scar tissue that's built up in the joint there because I let it heal on its own. And every so often when I'm walking, especially if I've been doing a lot lately, that scar tissue will get caught in the actual joint while I'm walking. And that is some pain for sure. It's almost like somebody has stabbed me with a knife in my knee. It's a really sharp pain, and I just have to stop, move my knee around a little bit slowly to kind of move that scar tissue out of the... I've got it down to a science now. So I kind of move my knee back and forth, up and down, wiggle it around a little bit to kind of get the scar tissue out of the corner of the joint of the joint, the knee joint, so that it's not catching in the knee joint. It's something to see. Anyway, you do what you got to do, right? But yeah, when it gets caught, and it doesn't happen every day, it doesn't even happen every week, it doesn't even happen every month. It's just every so often that scar tissue will get caught in that knee joint, just a little catch, and that pain just shoots through the whole knee. So I just have to kind of finagle that scar tissue out of the area, get on back to where you're supposed to be, kind of thing. But so yeah, so all that to say, cold weather's not my friend. My joints dislike cold. I always find myself stooping over because I'm so used to being in a shorter van. I've got to remember, I have headroom now. Anyway, so cold weather is not my friend when it comes to these joints of mine. I mean, all the way down to the toe joints sometimes ache in the cold. So I'd rather be in the hotter, humid temperatures because my joints function. It's not a big deal. I try and stay as shady as I can. When it gets too hot in here, I'll just go sit outside under a shade tree, which you catch a breeze under the trees more so than you're going to in a van. I tend to keep everything closed up, even though my slider windows are all open. All three of them are open, and my two pop-out windows are open. And I don't think I have these two open, so I'll open the two back ones in a little bit after this video. But yeah, so and my front windows are open all the way with the screens on them. So it's cooler, actually, which is funny. It's cooler in the cab area than it is back here, which usually you find the opposite to be true. But if I were to sit up in the front seat right now, it would be much cooler than it is back here. And that's because I've got my curtains closed. I've got my screens closed. So, and it's higher here, so I've got more heat in this area than it is there. So, because heat rises. Anyway, I have toyed with the idea of possibly putting a vent fan here, but I don't know if I want to be making holes in my roof. I really, really am not a fan of that. It's like, so scary. So what I think I will do, if you are familiar with Mr. Bob Wells and his assistant, Casey, she has a fan in her back window. She just took the glass out and put a fan there. I am very much considering doing that, putting a max air fan back here so that I can either pull in air or push out air. Probably at night, I'll have the air come in and blow over my body. And during the day, I'll have the air suck out and pull out pull out the hot air in here. I'm also toying with the idea of taking the window over here by the kitchen area, the upper part, not the slider part, but taking the upper part out and putting metal there and then putting a fan on the side there so that I can have two fans. I'd have one here and I'd have one there, and I would just be able to circulate some kind of air through this van somehow without putting any holes in my ceiling, because I'm really, really scary about putting a hole in my ceiling. It's not something I look forward to. So as of now, I have my big fan sitting in front of this slider window, pushing air to me, and I've got my little USB fan right here blowing directly on me, and I can stay pretty cool as long as I stay hydrated. Some of the other things I do if it gets too hot in the van, but I don't want to go out, like say I'm not dressed or whatever, like right now I don't have pants on. Staying naked works for me, so let you take your imagination and go where you want with that. So one of the other things I do is, you guys know that last year I got a bunch of these gray washcloths, which I'm thinking of making these my paper towels. I have about 24 of these washcloths, and I'm thinking of moving on and making these my paper towels. and getting an 8-pack of exfoliating washcloths for my body, because these are my body. These are what I use on my body. I use a clean one every single day. And I usually do laundry every 7 to 10 days. So if I get 2 8-packs of the exfoliating washcloths, that's 16. I'll definitely have enough of those washcloths. And then downgrading these to paper towels, because I haven't been buying paper towels. I still have my bamboo paper towels, which are washable, and I really love those. But I'm thinking of maybe even making these paper towels, because I feel like these would be good for wiping up spills, for, washing my hands or whatever, that you would normally use a paper towel for. And I could cut these in half. So 24 of these cut in half would give me 48. So if I cut them each in half, I'd have that half size paper towel. That's the only thing I don't like about the bamboo ones. They don't come in half size. They come in a full sheet size. So I end up cutting those in half too. So mostly all of my bamboo paper towels are cut in half. I have maybe 5 that I kept full size for when you need a full size towel. Anyway, so one of the other ways I keep cool, back to the subject of this video. Oh, you know me, I go off. I wet one of these down and wring it out so that it's not dripping wet, but leave enough water in it. And I'll just lay it on me. I'll lay it on my chest, and I'll just lay here on the bed watching Netflix with the fan blowing on me, hitting that cold towel. Or I'll put it on the back of my neck. I used to have one of those little cooling towels, but mine got moldy. You're supposed to not leave it dry, and I left it in its original container that it came in, and when I went to use it the next time, it had spots of mold all over, and I didn't want to chance it, so I threw it away. But they do make those cooling towels that you wet down that are supposed to stay cool for hours. They're made for like hiking or when you're out doing sports and stuff like that, so I guess you're re-wetting it more, or whatever, you're outside, I don't know. But it stayed cool maybe 2.5 hours, that cooling towel. And it was nice because it was longer, so I could wrap it completely around my neck, or leave it open and just lay it across my body. So it was nice. I might consider getting another one maybe, but I find that this works just fine. It's just a little small, but it works just fine. Just wet it down, wring it out enough that it is, like I said, not soaking wet, because you don't want to get water all over your bed or wherever you're sitting. And just lay it on you, put it on your forehead, put it on the back of your neck, whatever. You can roll it smaller and just lay it right there when it's soaking wet. You can lay it across your forehead. That's if you're going to stay in the van. But even if I'm sitting outside, I've done that before too. Sit outside and just drape it across your shoulder just to keep you cool. But I find that if I'm hydrating very well, my body is able to stay pretty cool. So I drink a few of these a day. Now this one doesn't have ice in it. There's no more ice in it, but it was full of water, and it's probably about half full now. So I've been just drinking this, and I just guzzle water constantly. So definitely hydrate. If you are a fruit eater, eat lots of high water content fruits, which I'll be starting, that 30-day fruit challenge feast on August 1st. So I'll update you the first week of August as I'm starting what I bought and all that. Anyway, I hope this was a little bit helpful for you. And normally you would follow the weather. That's your biggest bet right there. If you live on wheels, just drive where it's cooler, go to higher elevation, all that. Next year, summer will look very different for me, because next year I won't be coming back east at all. What I'll be doing is taking 1 week in August, which is the week of my granddaughter's birthday, and I'll probably be flying out here and renting a car for 4 to 5 days, staying with them, and then flying back to the West Coast. I won't be making that drive again. I'm a little sad about that, because I really enjoyed myself at the African Americans Who RV and Camp event, and they do lots of events in the summer, and so I'm kind of sad about not being able to camp with them next year, because I won't be in my van. I won't be bringing my van back. But I also have to do what's best for me, and that drive is killer on my body, on my mind, and then trying to find somewhere to park out here absolutely 100% sucks. But that could all change. I could change my mind. I could do the drive. I could camp with them. I could come and park in North Carolina at Mr. P and Miss K's house while I'm on the East Coast, and do some of the events with the African Americans that RV and camp, possibly. I don't know what that's going to look like for me. As of now, I don't want to sign up for that drive because I'm already dreading the drive back to Arizona. Like I said, it's a lot of money and it's killer. And to do that drive in the late spring and back in the summer, that same amount of gas money is more than enough to buy a ticket and rent a car. So in my mind, I'm thinking, why don't I just do that? So we'll see what that looks like for me. We'll see. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you next time. Enjoying these videos? Give them a thumbs up, share them, and expand the family. Comment below. Want more? Go over to Patreon and support future videos for just $1 a month. And even more still, text Vanner FAM, all one word, to 703-783-3232. See you tomorrow.